Was there something in my walk, how I talk, giving off the wrong energy? Was there something in my stride, too much pride, telling you to back down? Slowly, slowly you became my enemy, but you can't seem to get enough of me. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all. Was there something in my walk, how I talk, giving off the wrong energy? Was there something in my stride, too much pride, telling you to back down? Slowly, slowly you became my enemy, but you can't seem to get enough of me. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all. So if this is the last time, I guess I better make it worthwhile. Yeah, if this is the last time, I guess I better give it my all.
You don't have to, no, you don't have to say those words again. Oh no, and you don't have to, no, you don't have to go and explain yourself, 'cause I ain't gonna listen. Yeah, all you wanted was a souvenir to remember it all. Yeah, you tore it apart down to every last piece. Yeah, a souvenir, another story to tell. And I gotta know how to find happiness in the wrong place. 'Cause it never ends, it's there in all ways. It's evident you never change for our sake. We're falling now. Your little black book ran out of pages. 'Cause if you're gonna take it all, then baby, don't waste it. You only want it if you know you're gonna break it. Just another souvenir for the take, yeah. Just take it. Baby, just take it. again. Just take it. Baby, just take it. Just another souvenir for the road. That's the way it goes. Just take it. Baby, just take it. You
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to PCA Upper Canada Region's Sim Racing action, presented by Johnson Research and Performance Incorporated, as we get ready to go racing at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course on iRacing. Here tonight, it's the sixth round of the season. Justin Prince alongside DJ Clark with our producer Zach Johnson, as we get ready to go racing for 35 minutes to see which driver can conquer Mid-Ohio. And DJ, first things first, plenty of talent in this field tonight from across the Upper Canada region for the Porsche Club of America. It's going to be entertaining to see which driver comes out on top tonight.
Indeed it has, Justin. I've had the privilege of being able to cover a couple of these drivers previously in the PCA regions as a whole event, and there is some very, very good talent here. Very lonely at the top, though, right now, as they're out there working their way around. Not a whole lot of gaps existing, so I think it's going to be a very close battle in Mid-Ohio and sports cars. Well, you can't get much better than that.
Absolutely, and keep in mind, a lot of these drivers in this respective series cut their teeth when it comes to the fast-flowing driving at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park and Mosport, where the S's in Thunder Valley could be their comfort food, as some would say, here for Mid-Ohio. But let's take a look at the championship standings entering tonight, because things have been fairly close, especially towards the edge of the top five. Christopher Stiles enters today with 96 total points on the campaign. That's a 17-point advantage over Joe Sinclair Jr. John Martin will not be racing tonight, but he is 25 points back entering this evening, fall behind as well by the 290. Patrick Adamczyk rounding out the top five. Keep in mind, Stiles is the season leader in victories, DJ, with 3.
He is indeed, and he was on top of this qualifying that we're watching right now for a little bit there. Adamczyk able to just pip him, though. Ooh, looks like a little off there for Christopher Stiles. Didn't mean to jinx him on that, but it's going to be pretty close here, I think, Justin. A lot of these drivers just getting their feet under them and getting ready to get going. As I said, the top 8 right now only separated by about a second.
There is that qualifying board you're talking about. 120.8 is the quickest time. Patrick Adamczyk is currently the quickest driver here in general. He was quickest in practice by 3/10, with Christopher Stiles now second. Joe Sinclair Jr., Ben Leon, and Terrence Tawn rounding out the top 5. And keep in mind, when it comes to Tawn, a lot of experience when it comes to the national PCA Sim Racing leagues that they hold throughout the year.
Yeah, Terrence Tong, one of those drivers that has a lot of that experience, as is the driver directly in front of him in the standings right now, Ben Leong. Leong up there competing for the championship, actually, in that national PCA league that I was lucky enough to be able to cover earlier this year. So Ben in that 290 Porsche putting on some good moves here to try to get himself up forward a little bit, working his way out of the carousel, crossing over the timing and scoring line right now.
Let's take the time to, first of all, ride along with one of these drivers. We're down to the final 90 seconds of qualifying, DJ. Talk us through the lap here.
Well, this is exiting out of the carousel right now. It's a short blast of a pit straightaway, and this first corner is very, very tricky. Just a little bit of brush braking. You don't want to scrub too much speed, and watch out for that big yellow curb that separates the pit exit there. It can really, really disrupt the cars, even in these sports cars with softer suspension. We now have a blast down to the keyhole. Tricky braking zone. The track breaks away from you. You really want to either try to diamond off the corner or stick it nice and tight that entire time. Now is your first real chance to get a good breather here. This is a long straightaway, and this is going to be one of the best overtaking opportunities as we power down here into turn 4 and around the China Beach section. Heavy braking zone. It can be easy to lose your brake marker as they go through. Now is the tricky part. This is where you've got to be careful on the throttle as you go up over 5 and 6 down through the S's. The way the track breaks away from you, if you're just a hair early on the throttle, it can completely throw you off. Now you got to line it back up. Get ready here for the run into Thunder Valley. Turn 9, another one of those crests of the hill. If you get it just wrong, it can completely throw you off on the lap. You fly through Thunder Valley, that echo of the engine all around you, and then bring it in here into the carousel. Try to take it as wide as possible to maximize speed going in. And then that's not how you want to do it. Yeah, that's too much speed, Justin.
Yeah, and that will probably end off his qualifying, because the way this works for this series, it is open qualifying. Drivers have now had 10 minutes to do so. They'll have a little bit of time to be able to complete their current laps. A few drivers attempting to do so currently before the end of this session. But here's a couple other things to consider. The race itself is 35 minutes. There is also a 50% fuel tank DJ, meaning there is the potential of drivers having only about 25-30 minutes of fuel on board, as some drivers peel on in.
Exactly, and some of that fuel saving is going to be key around here, although Mid-Ohio is not exactly a track you can do a whole lot of saving around. Just waiting for the last couple of drivers to work their way around. This is Robert Bowman. He looks like he's going to be coming on in right now. That's Ben Leong. Ben right now who's quick through Sector 3, so let's see if he decides to stick it out here.
We'll see. Yes, he is. So Ben, looking to be one of the final drivers to record a time, is bring Terrence Tawn with them. This time by a 1:21.5, not good enough to bump up his time. Right behind him, Terrence Tawn put up a 1:21.9 to end off his qualifying as well, and that just about wraps up qualifying. 45 seconds until drivers will make their way to the starting grid. And based on your experience with some of these drivers and calling PCA action, who are you keeping your eye on the most? Because there's a lot of decent speed when it comes to these competitors.
Well, I mean, it's a bit of an obvious answer, but I think Patrick Adamczyk on the top of the board has looked quick all day. But I'm also going to have my eye on Terrence Tong and Ben Leong. We've seen some great wheel-to-wheel action out of Ben over the course of the National PCA season that just wrapped about a week ago. So I think that 4th and 5th place, that's going to be a place to watch out for sure, Justin.
So Terrence Tawn taking the time to learn a bit more about this racetrack before they go to the green this time. So qualifying is wrapped up. 10 drivers expected to take the green flag today for 35 minutes of action here on PCA's Upper Canada region and its Sim Racing series. Drivers now making their way to the racetrack. It's Patrick Adamczyk, who recorded the best time in qualifying, a 1:20.897. Keep an eye on him with the Mistral Sparkle car today. He'll start alongside Christopher Stiles. Then it's Joe Sinclair Jr., who will start in 3rd alongside Terrence Tawn. Ben Leon starts in 5th today with Paul Netto. In 6th, Robert Bowman will drive the Robo Racing powered by IBM car. From 7th, John Montgomery drives from 8th. Justin Warren and Peter Roth are the 10 drivers who will take the green flag here. So just a few moments before we take the green flag for racing action, 3 races to go. The question is, which driver will be able to try and reel in Christopher Stiles? Which driver will take the top step of the podium tonight? We're about to find out. Drivers are all set to go. Green flag is out, and we're crashing already. Christopher Stiles, the points leader's in the wall. Stiles to the back of the field on the first lap before the green flag.
I think he just spun his tires coming up out of that final corner there, Justin. Doesn't look like a whole lot of damage to that number 8 Porsche, but he's able to get back on track. Up front, Joe Sinclair Jr. had a big off coming through turn 1 as well. Found him out into the grass, and he's dropped all the way down to 8th.
Massive, massive disaster for both of the top drivers in the point standings. That has allowed the 666 to run away. And now it's the gap of more than 2 seconds. Christopher Styles has spun it again, by the way. He crashed again in the keyhole.
Oh my goodness gracious, that number 8 Porsche just not looking happy out here. It is only about 75 degrees out on track, and so those tires are probably very, very slippery, very, very cool here early on. He just needs to get some heat into them, and hopefully he'll be able to work his way back forward.
So the race lead is now 2.4, nearly 2.5 seconds exactly, with Patrick Adams able to break away from all the craziness. Ben Leon is already up 3 spots. John Montgomery up 4 spots after a crazy first and second sectors of this race. Now making their way towards the carousel, and another car is spun.
That's Leong. That is Ben Leong off in the carousel, or the entry to the carousel, rather. I didn't exactly see what happened. I just looked up to see that 290 facing the wrong way and in the grass.
Well, what a first lap. Christopher Styles, the points leader, spins twice. The second driver of the points goes off the racetrack. The second biggest mover goes off the racetrack. And now the race lead is almost 4 seconds. Not what we were expecting entering tonight. Let's put it that way. Terrence Tom, by the way, is in second.
He is indeed, but he's got a little bit of fierce competition as John Montgomery. Oh, that's the number 9 off. That's Robert Bowman. Looks like he had a little bit of an off there through the keyhole. I suspect he carried a little bit too much speed.
Joe Sinclair's got a problem too, so Joe Sinclair might have been involved with that contact. Yes, he was.
All right, so that, I believe there, Justin, is the first actually on-track conflict that we've had that hasn't just been a solo spin, that between Sinclair and Bowman.
So Christopher Styles ended up pulling off. Here's the replay. There's contact for the battle for second right off the jump. Styles then has everything go wrong from this point. And then everyone else falls apart.
Yeah, and Styles just took a little bit too much speed there through that first corner. It looked like got a little bit of understeer coming through that first turn. Just couldn't get the exit.
Then Styles, keep in mind, has a bit of damage from the contact, loops it around in the keyhole. He ended up later this lap coming in for a pit stop for a fast repair. There is no limit on those tonight.
And then this is Ben Leong's issue, and there, I think what he did is he just put a little bit too much input into the steering wheel, trying to go from that right to left, just kind of got the car a little bit squirrely and upset the lateral motion on it, and just too much roll in the car, and that sent him around on cold tires.
Here's a look at what happened with Sinclair, and yep, there's the help I was referring to, and there's the stoppage. And that's a bit of sportsmanship saying, I spun you around, I'm going to let you take the spot back. The problem is, it lost Joe Sinclair all his time, and literally all of it.
Yeah, it really did. There you can see we jump back live, though, and Sinclair has started his progress back through the field. That is him getting around Bowman cleanly, going down into turn 4. So now up ahead of him is going to be Peter Roth as he tries to recover in that 2-1-2.
One of the craziest starts you'll ever see for a road course race. In the first couple laps, oh, this has allowed that 666 to run away by now 4 seconds. And here's the thing, the nickname for him in this series has been the comeback kid. He's not known for having to come back in for, or rather pulling away early on. He's known for coming back in races to come and close up.
Well, and he's not exactly weathering the pressure as well as I think he would like to. On that last lap, it looks like Terrence Tong was able to take about 3/10 of a second out of that lead, pulling the gap down to about 3.3 seconds right now. Now, especially on such a quick track as Mid-Ohio, that's still a lot of time to make up, Justin. But I think Adamchik's going to have to watch out here a little bit.
Yeah, this corner already through the braking this time towards China Beach, picking up an extra half a tenth or so. So Terrence Ton seems to be up on that pace, as well as John Montgomery close on behind. Here's the view from Ton. Right now needs to close up at least a couple more corners as they go through the S's this time. This has been where he's been picking up some time through the braking marks. A little bit too hard that time. Lost him all the time he picked up this lap.
It did indeed. And so he's now going to have to try to dig himself back out of that hole. So we ride on board there with the 388. And his other problem is John Montgomery behind him, not exactly letting this go away quietly. Montgomery's been holding that gap at about a second, just making sure his presence is felt.
John Montgomery off to a solid start to this respective race. The last time out, finished the first driver a lap down in 7th. That was over at Brands Hatch for these respective competitors. Last time out November 21st. Compare that to Tana the last time out for him. He ended up showing good speed in 6th position in that respective event.
Yes, he did. As we continue to watch them work their way around here, Montgomery got a better run out of the keyhole, able to get that gap down 0.2 of a second as they break down around China Beach, hovering at about 0.8 of a second right now. This is our closest battle out on track.
For now is the key thing, because things are going to likely get busy. Speaking of busy, 8th position is also closing on in because Peter Roth had a really solid start to keep himself clean. He has now been reeled back in by Robert Bowman since the last time we checked on that number 9 as well. Joe Sinclair Jr. has taken a spot back and has ran away from this grouping by 30 seconds. Here's a look at Joe Sinclair, just up the road in fact, where his home is considered being in the dirt, where he does a lot and did a lot of dirt track racing in real life, as well as on the sim before he changed over to sports cars, DJ.
Well, that's a bit of a throwback back into the olden days of guys like AJ Foyt, Mario Andretti a little bit, to be honest. And, you know, Justin, Justin, I have to tell you that coming from a little bit of a dirt background myself, you actually find that there is more crossover than you think, specifically when you're going around here in those early laps, like we said, with the cold tires and that rear end really wants to drift out on you. You kind of feel that dirt experience coming to the forefront of your mind, able to catch and hold a slide, control the car a little bit more as they go around.
In real life, he actually races a Cayman as well with this Porsche. Speaking of drivers looking to be very fast, though, bit of a dive and a look from Robert Bowman, not able to commit fully to keep it side by side with Peter Rumpf, as that 45 continues to hold on for now.
Yeah, continues to hold on as Bowman now trying to look again. It's very, very difficult to get a pass done here through the S's. It's almost impossible there. A little bit of a narrower line for Bowman. Now, he's got to be careful about that coming over turn 9 like that. As I said, that's a very specific corner. If he cuts that corner a little bit too much, the way that the track breaks away with the elevation drop, he can find himself bottoming out a little bit and losing time.
Those drivers trying to keep in a rhythm. The Waterloo-based driver trying to pull away. Meanwhile, second is having a wrestling match. 2 seconds lost this lap alone. Terrence Tawn is falling apart. He is now under attack from a swarm of drivers.
Really and truly is Tong just coming under sorts of all kinds of pressure here. That's a little bit of a look to the inside for Montgomery. He's not going to fully commit it going down into turn 4, but he's certainly going to keep the pressure up the best that he can, but that's going to lose him a little bit of time to Neto.
No major lunge quite yet. After all of that, by the way, just 1 second after he looked away or so, Robert Bowman went off into the grass coming out of turn 1, so that battle dissipated as well. By 20 seconds, in fact. Bad luck for Bowman. Meanwhile, Tawn looks to try and pick up the tempo after being able to reel it in the 666 for a few laps and then having this pace fall back the other way.
And a little bit of a scary moment there for John Montgomery in that 69 machine coming over the crest of turn 9. The car got just a hair sideways. I thought for a second that Paul Neto was going to have a little bit of a look on him, but not able to get it done. They now sweep their way through turn 1. Let's see if anybody can get a run out of the keyhole.
While the drivers close to all this, keep in mind, is Paul Neto in that 104 machine. A lot of work when it comes to PCA action in the Upper Canada region. A hard send there, nearly missing the bottom of the racetrack. He's been stuck in 4th. Keep in mind, John Montgomery, when it comes to this, is known for being a good defender. A great defender, in fact, as the cones say bye-bye.
RIP cones there, as that's a little bit of a look to the inside there for Neto. Not a full commitment, just trying to see if he can scare Montgomery off the line. But as you said, Justin, Montgomery is a great defender, often known for it. He's also a PCA instructor. He has a Porsche 944 that he often races in SCCA and PCA events, so very well-versed in sim and real-world racing. He's going to be a hard one for Paul to scare off the line here, but that is not deterring the 104 from trying.
I believe that's more so in the reference to Neto you're referring to with the PCA experience. Keep in mind, also finished in second at one time for a Lucky Dog Endurance event, with 3 other competitors nearly sending it to the inside, coming out of the carousel, and that lost them all their time. Ton is gone.
And he is indeed. He's been able to pull a gap of about 1.5 seconds as these two squabble on your screen for that final podium position. They work their way around right now. Neto just trying to see if he can get anything, but the gap has fallen down to about 0.5 of a second.
Meanwhile, right on behind them, you see that gap between Joe Sinclair Jr. and Peter Roth has gotten much closer. Remember, it was up by a couple seconds. 7 seconds the difference, and there goes Peter.
Yeah, that's Peter right around there, and I believe that is coming out of turn 1. Strange to see a car on the inside. Justin, I wonder if he maybe clipped that inside yellow curbing that I mentioned earlier. That could be an explanation as to why that car got off track.
So the dump right there, it's to the point where Christopher Stiles nearly caught some cars, and can't confirm, just checking here. Peter Roth got loose before the yellow curbing and then rode the yellow curbing. Good recovery for Stiles, I will say. He might pass a car here with all the drivers with attrition.
Very well might indeed, as he's going to be coming up behind Roth, and that's up ahead of him. Obviously, Adam Chick, your leader, who is farther on up the road. So Stiles just going to be trying to work it in here. I'm sure those tires are up to temperature now, so he's going to be breathing a little bit easier about that part of the running.
We'll see, especially since, keep in mind, Stiles is the second quickest car on the racetrack. He's running 121.8s. The leader's running 121.7s. Stiles looking to pounce now on Peter Roth's 45 machine. Stiles to the left, heading out through Thunder Valley, a huge send, and a back off from Peter Roth, entering towards the carousel.
But that was a really good sale of a dummy there for Christopher Stiles. You saw how he made Roth think he was going to be to the outside, and then once Roth got defensive, just switched it back over. Really, really well done.
First time I've heard that term, a sale of a dummy?
Just some sort of paraphrasing that came out. I still may be a little...
Oh, by the way, Christopher Stiles just crashed again in the keyhole.
Oh, dear.
He just clipped the grass again, and Peter Roth was not able to take advantage. In fact, they both lost 3 seconds from the checkup.
Yeah, it did indeed, and it just looked like there that Stiles just ran wide as can be through the keyhole. This is going to be Roth trying to fight back a little bit. Stiles able to get it locked down under braking, though.
Absolutely incredible. Battles all over throughout the pack, and a lot of attrition, too, here when it comes to this action. Keep in mind, this is the home stretch for this championship, for this series, mind you, with Laguna Seca and Canadian Tire Motorsport Park left on deck after this week.
Yeah, indeed, and all of those tracks do have a very similar sort of club racing style feel to them, so I love that these guys are sticking to that MO. Obviously, traveling across the North American continent to get some good racing action in. Jumping back to Neto as he just continues to take out those cones, but closes in on Montgomery.
By the way, keep in mind, we're approaching halfway and quickly at this pace so far. Just a few minutes from the estimated window for drivers to potentially peak on down with that fuel limit for tonight. We'll see how things play out right after this. You're watching PCA Upper Canada Region Sim Racing here on FTF GG.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Live coverage of PCA Upper Canada Region Sim Racing is presented by Johnston Research and Performance, your Canadian source for automotive excellence. Back with you on FTFGG, Justin Prince, DJ Clark with you along with Jack Johnson, our producer, as we have just passed the halfway mark in tonight's action. Estimated 13 coming up to 12 laps to go. Patrick Amzik has led the entire way. He leads by 7+ seconds over Terrence Ton, John Montgomery, and Paul Netter round out the top four currently. The Mr. Sparkle car has definitely had some shine to that speed and that speedometer so far.
It most certainly has, Justin, and just looking at the top speeds of these cars, looks like Adamchik's able to be tickling up near 160 miles an hour, topping out at about 158 down the long straight leading down into China Beach. Nobody else even coming close to that at this point. So clearly Adamchik just in a league of his own out here, doing a great job to keep that 666 out front.
Been a beautiful drive, especially with some of the battles holding the others up. Speaking of battles, John Montgomery, Paul Neto are still fighting very hard. Paul Neto's tried several times the past 10 laps to get around that 69. Just cannot find the run, though.
No, he can, and it's not for lack of trying. And there you see a little bit of a move. Again, a look to the inside going into the keyhole. Now, that's going to compromise his entry. What he's going to have to do is exactly what he just did. Diamond off the corner. Try to get as good of a run as he can. Now, he's going to give a little bit of ground to John Montgomery, but the draft should help him pull in a little bit more here. He's definitely closing down. Looks like he may be thinking about going down to the inside, but he's still about 0.2 of a second back. Not quite close enough for that 104, but as you said, Justin, it is just constant pressure here given by Neto.
And it looks like he keeps on trying to at least think about it. He's hungry, it seems, for that draft toe to be able to pull him along the straight to give him a shot here. As well, he's no longer hitting the cones. Did you not notice?
I actually didn't on that one, but eagle eye to you there, Justin. Yeah, not hitting the cones. It may sound a little ridiculous, but to the uninitiated, that can slow you down by sort of microseconds, as it were. So Neto clearly trying to get any advantage that he can. He's really starting to pull here. He falls back to about 0.7 of a second, but the first sector has been his strongest part of the lap in and lap out.
Of note, Joe Sinclair Jr. has just had an incident. when trying to get into the pit lane, where he sent it so hard he nearly hit the tire wall. In fact, bounced off of it to be able to enter the pit lane.
Well, it's a tricky pit in here. You've really got to woe the car down. It's slightly on the line when you're trying to go. Very, very hard, and I have a sneaking suspicion that Sinclair is not going to be the only one who falls afoul of that.
So it was a 6-second pit stop, by the way, for Joe Sinclair Jr. Here's the replay, and watch right here.
Ooh, just couldn't get the speed brought down as he came around the right-hander in there. That led to a little bit of understeer, washed out into the grass ever so slightly, and able to get it out. But he's thankful to be having that 6-second pit stop there. We anticipate the rest of the drivers probably coming in within the next 8 minutes or so.
At the very furthest, so the window is open for some drivers. Remember, Christopher Stiles had to come in on the first lap of the race from all the chaos that happened to him. Here's the interesting part with that. How do you see that playing out for someone like Stiles, knowing he took an 8-second stop with the faster pair after all that disastrous and chaotic driving on the first lap?
I think pitting on lap 1 is gonna be pushing it. This is a track where you can't really save a whole lot of fuel, and unfortunately Stiles hasn't had anybody to really draft behind on the longer straightaways around here, so he's a little bit off unto himself. So I don't think he's gonna be able to fully stretch it out, but there's always a chance.
Keep in mind, as mentioned, unlimited faster pairs in this respective series. A lot of these drivers looking to have fun here on the sim. By the way, Paul Neto has spun around, so that is not good. He had been sending in hard into the corners and knocking down the cones again. I think he pushed it a little too hard this time.
And what happened here, Justin, is exactly what I have been preaching. The terror of coming over the crests of these hills, getting onto the power a little too aggressively. This was coming up over turn 5. He just pushed the car a little bit too much power, and you can see that rear end break away. He was able to catch it, but that wasn't quick enough to be able to get it before it came back onto the grass and spun him right around.
And then ramps himself across the rumble strips for good measure. Justin Warren has pit this lap. Paul Neto is now back to 5th position with that spin, 8 seconds behind the nearest car because of that mistake. And do you think it's because of how hard he pushed the tires too, as we see the stop from Warren? Because keep in mind, drivers are not expected to take tires with the distance of this race, but also, you push too hard, you end up having that potential falling off more than what we normally would see from drivers.
Yeah, exactly. Track temperature right now has risen a little bit as we climb closer to 10 o'clock virtual standard time. It's only about 78 degrees Fahrenheit out on track. But I think that's the situation that happened there, because it's not necessarily an issue of wear for these tires. These GT3s are built for a longer run.
Well, you say that. Guess who took tires?
Yep.
Justin Warren decided a 34-second stop to take tires is a good idea, and chaos in front of him with the leader. Patrick Adamczyk is in the grass. Peter Roth lost it in front of the leader, and the lead is gone. Terrence Tawn is in the lead.
Oh my goodness gracious, drama shaking out here in the dying stages of this race with just under 10 minutes to go. Adamczyk now has to be the comeback kid once again and try to chase down Terrence Tawn.
Look at what happens. Peter spins out in front, and then chaos.
Patrick just praying to get out of the way. Actually, pretty smart move there from him, using that access road to gather the car back up under him. There is the loss there from the 45. Yeah, let's ride on board here. Watch how he uses this access road to gather the car back up and get it pointed the right way quickly.
Yeah, smart move there to be able to get going, but then Terrence Tawn, boom.
Well, all right, as we go back to live, the gap's about 2 seconds here. I've got to be wondering a little bit, if I'm Patrick Adamczyk, if there's maybe some splitter damage to the front of that Porsche. That was a pretty hard lick he took across the grass. Those tires probably didn't like it as well, and Patrick's going to take this opportunity to dive down pit lane.
And mow the grass for good pursuit as well. So, a 7-second lead goes out the window from one spin. It's worth noting Peter is no longer on the track after that. Ben Leon has also ducked on in. So the whole complexion of this has changed, and Patrick has messed up his pit box. He had to move up.
And that's going to cost him valuable seconds. A quick splash and dash there for Adamczyk, though. Total time is about 5.6 seconds. 25 cone to cone. Truthfully, that's actually not too bad comparatively, even with that mistake we saw him make.
But the question is, what's the move now going to be for Terrence Tawn? How comfortable is he going to be in terms of his fuel numbers? This is all going to be cracking off here. Let's put that perspective. We'll see if Terrence comes in this lap. No traffic too close ahead yet, other than Justin Warren on fresh tires.
No, and I anticipate Warren being able to hold out for a little bit longer here. He's about 4 seconds up the road. This is really up to Terrence when he wants to dive on in. It's not going to be this lap, and I think this is the right call, Justin. If he's able to push this for a couple of laps longer, push it as long as you can until you get close behind the back of Justin Warren or something happens in front of you.
John Montgomery has come in this time. Peter Roth has also come back out after what appears to be a 2-minute tow. So everyone but Paul Netto, Robert Bowman, and Terrence Tawn have now completed their pit stops. Netto now up to second for the time being, 3 seconds up the road from the 666.
Exactly, and so now it is all going to have to come down to play. We're going to have to see who can make this work here at this point. Ooh, this is not good for your leader, Terrence Tawn. That is Roth directly ahead of him, about 0.8 of a second. I'm going to imagine this is going to force his hand. He's going to come in this lap.
Especially at the very edge of the estimated window. Hard braking, having to lift a little bit there with the 45. Peter Roth now moving to the left side, right towards the edge of the runoff for the exit of the corner, and off towards the carousel now. So will Terrence Tawn elect to come on down. He's taking the hider line. There he goes. Terrence Tawn is in. 5 estimated laps to go, and he's in for the final stop.
All right, it all comes down to this. He has got to make sure he hits his mark. Adamczyk coming up behind him now to the tune of about 24 seconds at this point.
Is that going to be close enough to make it a battle for the final few laps? Tawn is in his box. Least amount of fuel drivers have put in is about 5 seconds. It's 6 seconds for Terrence Tawn. Patrick Adamczyk is now making his way down the front straightaway. It might be close. Netto still has yet to pit. Will come out behind him. Terrence Tawn picks up a second from that call.
That's a good move for Terrence Tawn, and absolutely mega that he was able to get out ahead of Paul Netto here. Now, here's the one question. Justin, you and I were doing some math. I've seen these drivers be able to push upwards of about 35 minutes or so on a tank of fuel. Now, as I've said, there's not a lot of fuel saving that's done around here at Mid-Ohio, but if anybody could have done it, it would be Paul Netto, who spent the majority of his race tucked up behind John Montgomery. Could he be trying to go for a no-stopper here, potentially?
That's a really good point. If that ends up being the case, that'd be a masterclass move from someone that teaches respective competitors in PCA competition. But here's the thing, too. The 666 is also now going to have an extra car if that becomes the case to battle with as Terrence Tawn breaks 1 second.
Indeed, here they continue to work their way around. This will be the turnoff point for Netto. There he goes. He is coming down pit lane. All right, so that question is out of the way. Adamczyk already cut that gap down about 0.6 of a second on that last lap.
So Adamczyk is now clear. Now, can he close it up? The 666 was the quickest car on the track, especially with clean air and clean space. Here's the problem. he still has to find a way to get into the draft of the 388 to be able to have a shot here.
Yeah, he's really got to start pushing here as much as possible. Adamczyk lost a 1/10 of a second to Terrence Tong on that first sector. Let's see as they cross over the timing line. He gained it back. So they're back down to about even as they break down for China Beach.
They got plenty of space in regards to the traffic. Next closest car on the lead lap is 8 seconds behind. Roth is still 3 corners up the track. Only Robert Bowman has yet to make a scheduled stop. Number 9 machine, and he just had it off just moments ago. Look at that time loss, though, in this sector. All of a sudden, Terrence Tong has lost himself a decent amount of time after a bad couple corners.
7/10 of a second loss there, Justin. That is absolutely mega. Patrick Adamczyk now really starting to put the screws on and seeing if he can get that pink 666 up into the top spot once again.
And I think that was because he missed the corner in turn 9. He couldn't make the apex, DJ. And that mistake may have just given Patrick the exact mistake he was looking to capitalize on here.
It may indeed, but as we've seen all day, catching is one thing here at Mid-Ohio, and passing is another thing entirely. Adamczyk has got to be very, very aggressive if he wants to get this done, and really and truly the only two good passing zones are going down into that 11-12 carousel complex and the corner they're going into right now.
Christopher Stiles could not make it after coming in on the first lap of the race. He's had to pit a second time. His chances for good points are done. But for Terrence Tong, expecting 2 laps to go this time by here at Mid-Ohio. Here's something to consider. He's known for keeping a clean line, keeping himself lower on the incident points. Recorded he was 4th in the Runnington Award for PCA action for the least incident points in that sim racing action.
Was indeed, and got very lucky again, got very squirrely coming over turn 9 once again, but Tong able to keep it together. Okay, I anticipate this is 2 to go now as they've crossed over the line with about 1:30 left, and laps are ticking away here at about 1:21.
Indeed, of note, there is a bit of a squabble up the road with Robert Bowman and Peter Roth, who are trying to squabble for non-positions. Keep in mind, there's a chance if they fight too aggressively that any mistake from these cars could hamper these cars for the race lead. So think about that over the next lap and a half.
Exactly. Those drivers, thankfully, about 8 seconds up the road. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a gap that they'll be able to avoid. Tong, though, putting in good first 2 sectors there, able to pull away by about a 1/2 of a second as they work their way around China Beach for the penultimate time. Careful coming over the crest of the hill. Now let's watch and see how Tong takes turn 9 once again. This has been a little bit of his bane recently.
A little bit of bobble coming over the crest. Picked up time, in fact, over Patrick in the 666. White flag this time around here from Mid-Ohio. Can Terrence Tong make it one more time around? 2.25 miles to go. Barney the flagman now waving the white. Final lap.
Final lap, and the gap holds at about 1.5 seconds for Terrence Tong. He was able to pull away in the final 2 sectors of that last lap. Gets it through turn 1, takes a little bit of that inside curbing.
Trouble!
Oh, that's Adamczyk around!
The comeback for Patrick Adamczyk is done. He spun it off the track. Here comes the battle for third. John Montgomery drives to the right side. He'll take second away. Leon takes third. A massive mistake for the 69. As now Adamczyk goes for the battle. He dives his way for a podium spot. He bumps the 290 off the track.
Oh, bumps him off there, just ran him wide around the keyhole, and that's going to allow for Patrick Adamczyk to work his way back into third place. He's going to try to recover second here away from John Montgomery, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do it.
Unbelievable how things have fared out today. The 666 led by as much as 7 seconds. With Terrence Tong going to the final sector, he'll lose the race by 12 to 13 seconds. Final corners for the 388. Terrence Tahn capitalizes on attrition and mistakes. Final corner out of the carousel. He'll celebrate a victory. He wins at Mid-Ohio in the PCA Upper Canada Region Sim Racing Series.
Flashing the lights in jubilation as we jump back here to that battle for P2. Patrick Adamczyk trying to see if he can claw his way back up, but it's too little too late. John Montgomery will take second, and Patrick Adamczyk has to settle for third after that last lap mistake.
Unreal, and Christopher Stiles, the points leader coming in, will be the last driver to finish on the lead lap, by the way, in 7th position. What could have been after disaster before he even crossed the start and finish line, that just escalated and snowballed from there. An unreal night and an unreal fight in regards to how things finished out here tonight.
Yeah, Justin, just absolute insanity there as we wait for the final couple of drivers here to cross over. I don't even have words for how that ended up, but absolute kudos to Terrence Tahn there, being able to just stick it out and do a great job.
So Terrence Tahn gets to celebrate. This is his first victory this season in this series. Question is, will he try and burn it down? No, he'll keep on going, even more so here to make sure things are complete here amongst all of this. So again, Terrence Tahn, your winner here at Mid-Ohio, to be able to celebrate tonight's action. My goodness, a wild, wild ending to this one. And I think he's finally realized the race is over.
Well, now you talk about being in the zone there, Justin. Sometimes you just want to keep going. Shades of Fernando Alonso in qualifying at Qatar last week saying, I could drive this car all night.
So let's take a look at the race results after probably one of the wildest road course races I've ever seen. And that's saying something. Terrence Tahn is the winner by 12 seconds in the end over John Montgomery, with Patrick Adamczyk in 3rd position. Ben Leon finishes in the 4th spot today here in PCA UCR action, with Joe Sinclair Jr. recovering to 5th. Paul Neto, after some mistakes, finished in the 6th position, with Christopher Stiles after disaster, after disaster, after disaster, after a Sharknado, after a disaster, finishing in 7th. Justin Warren took tires and decided to finish in 8th as a result, with Robert Bowman in 9th. Peter Rolfe finished 1 lap down in 10th. So 10 drivers took the start, and 10 do take the checkered flag. My goodness, DJ. Where do we begin?
I don't know, Justin. I mean, honestly, this is one of the reasons why I love Mid-Ohio. It's a track that doesn't get a lot of love here on the iRacing service, but really and truly, this is a track that punishes you if you get it just a little bit wrong. And we saw that all come to the fore today. There is not an easy corner on this circuit.
And how do you feel this will now fare out for the remainder of the championship squabble? Because a lot changed when it came to the top drivers in the standings, mind you, having disastrous moments in days.
Well, I think what it's going to do is it's really going to cause everybody to go into Laguna Seca with a little bit of a different approach. I think in this, we saw a lot of drivers trying to be a little bit more aggressive, especially at the start. You saw that bumping, that contact. And I think when we get to Seca, it is going to be a much more of a sense from our leaders that they are just going to want to finish the race where they started rather than trying to push their way forward.
Absolutely, and it's all going to be intriguing how it plays out. Keep this in mind, the point system for this series. First gets 25 points, second 21, 18 for third, 17 for fourth, then it goes single points on down in terms of decreasing. So in our words, a wild night, a wild finish, a wild start, a wild middle. It was like a roller coaster. But the roller coaster never stopped the screaming parts of the ride. But it's Terrence Tahn who does come away with the checker flag today. Terrence, you end up taking advantage of some attrition, but it's you who ends up capitalizing on it to win. How does it feel to be a winner in this series?
Oh, this is my first time standing in the podium. That was extremely interesting, and trying to keep myself on track was a difficult task. But yeah, here we are.
So I'm curious on this. You're running about 7 seconds back from Patrick before your respective pit stops, and then all of a sudden you come out of turn 1 and he's coming out of the grass. What was your reaction when you seen he had a massive situation with the 45?
Yeah, I forgot to turn on crew chief, so I was playing around with the fuel calculator, and then I realized I was losing time. So I thought my race was over at that point, and then everything happened really fast. As I was coming out of turn 1, I saw Patrick was on the grass, so I was trying to figure out where he would land as he was coming out, and luckily I was able to dodge him and no contact. And yeah, that was a scary moment for sure.
Now, how do you look to carry this momentum on forward after how you ran tonight? You mentioned it was your best finish now with this victory and first podium of the season. How do you look to try and keep this going now with 2 races left?
I just gonna go fingers crossed, and hopefully all the fast guys will have some sort of moments that happen to them on the future races, and I will kind of steal the win, hopefully.
Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
Yeah, I would like to thank UCR for organizing this. Thank you guys for having such awesome live broadcasts, and also special thanks to Paul for organizing all of this.
Congratulations on your first victory in this series this season. That's Terrence Ton, your winner tonight from Mid-Ohio. Second place tonight with John Montgomery, by the way. As speaking in just a few moments, as John Montgomery had a very hectic battle, keep in mind, when it came to that scrap for second, but turned into second towards the end, DJ.
Yeah, he certainly did. And obviously that early battle on with Paul Neto, John very much earning his moniker of the Master of Defense. Very, very impressive drive today out of the 69.
And I believe he's currently in the midst of some discussions with some of our competitors because a lot happened in that second grouping you've seen in that final lap. Let's take the chance to talk to the 666 then for Patrick Emjic. And DJ, you're standing by with him after what was probably one of the craziest second halves of a race he could have ever had.
I am indeed. Patrick, I would normally say congratulations here for being a podium, but I know that's got to be a little bit heartbreaking for you, leading for the majority of the race. You put up a good fight there to Ben. It's still good to be walking away with some good points on the day, though.
Yeah, definitely. I think the irony here is the last time I raced here, I was in a similar situation as first time out and taking someone out in the top 3. So I think the fact that it happened to me in a similar way, it's karma. It's all good.
Well, we were talking a little bit in the broadcast about sort of how Mid-Ohio is just such a punishing course, and obviously headed to 2 other very tricky tracks in the forms of Laguna Seca and Mo Sport. Do you like tracks like this, or do you like a little bit of the more wider open ones, the Road Americas, those kind of thing?
I think probably Road America I'm the fastest in, and then second probably at Mo Sport. So I think they both suit me quite well. As long as it's a road track, no roval, I think I really like them.
Well, all right then, my friend. Obviously, you are going to be looking ahead, pushing ahead as best you can. Do you have any predictions for what can be coming up for us next week?
I aim to be top 5 in the series, and if I could podium some more, I think that'll be great. It's kind of my first season with this new hardware setup that I have, so I'm just really getting used to it and all the tracks and the racing.
Well, all right. We wish you the best of luck there, Patrick. Anybody you'd like to thank for this third place run here today?
I think obviously Paul for organizing this, and then Chris Styles, because he always kind of pushes me in the group. So he was definitely someone I was aiming for, and especially in qualifying, being able to beat him was really a great achievement.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations once again. That was Patrick Adamczyk, your third place driver here today. A good run for Patrick across the board. Justin?
Absolutely an intriguing race, and I have to feel for him in that regard. I know there's a few drivers who probably want to speak with him after some of the fireworks that went off as well, it appears, but still, it was a light show with how things fared out. Your expectations in turn then for the next race, second to last round of the season, over at WeatherTech Raceway of Laguna Seca, with a lot of elevation changes there.
Well, there are a lot of elevation changes there, Justin. I was actually just there this past weekend. I drove by the circuit, and I can tell you that it is very steep and continues to maintain that. But I think it's going to be a lot of the same. I think you're going to see a lot of these drivers maybe pushing a little bit too hard. It's going to be a battle of will or won't. I think it's going to be some drivers having the will to try to push themselves forward, maybe making a mistake, and some drivers opting to not take those aggressive moves and let the race come to them. That's what we saw Terrence Tong here do today, and it all fell into pieces, and he was able to take victory.
So once again, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's action for PCA Upper Canada Region action here on FTFGG for its Sim Racing series. Congratulations once again to Terrence Tong, his first victory of the season in this series. The next time you can see this series here on this channel will be next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, when we head over to Laguna Seca, second last round of the season. We'll see how things fare out there and see which tempers carry on forward after the craziness that was Mid-Ohio tonight. But with that, it's time to say goodbye. For our producer, Zach Johnson, for DJ Clark, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Once again, Terrence Tong, your winner from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.